Okay, so you want to own a bike and e-bike rental shop. Find a little storefront a block from the beach, fill it with colorful cruisers, put a rentals sign out front, and let the tourists hand you cash. It sounds like the easiest money in the world. A vacation you get paid to take. Here's the thing. If it were really that easy, every retired couple in every coastal town would own one, and they would all be rich. They are not. The bike rental industry in the United States alone is a $4.3 billion market growing at more than 15% a year. E-bike rentals are growing even faster, over 18%. That sounds like a wave you absolutely want to be on, but the average independent shop in a seasonal beach town will generate between $250,000 and $400,000 in annual revenue. And after working 7 days a week for 6 months straight, the owner-operator typically takes home $60,000 to $90,000 before taxes. That gap between the industry's rocket ship growth and the owner's middle-class paycheck is the entire story of this business. Most people who enter it never see the gap until they are standing in the middle of it, exhausted, wondering why 70 bikes at $40 a day cannot produce a comfortable life. The reason the market is big and getting bigger is not that more people suddenly love bicycles. It is that the way people spend their leisure time has fundamentally changed. The customer walking into your shop in 2026 is not looking for transportation. They are looking for an experience that fits into a 3-day weekend. They want to explore the coastline without sitting in a car. They want to feel active without actually being uncomfortable. And above all, they are willing to pay a premium not for the metal and rubber, but for the feeling the metal and rubber unlocks. This is not the cycling industry. This is the hospitality industry. And the demand is structurally durable. Domestic travel remains elevated. The remote work era has stretched the shoulder season in tourist towns from a few weekends to entire months. E-bikes have cracked open a completely new demographic. People in their 50s and 60s, families with mixed fitness levels, groups who would never have rented a traditional pedal bike. These customers pay double the daily rate without blinking. That trend is not reversing. But not all bike rental businesses are the same business. If you do not understand the differences, you will build the wrong model for the wrong location and bleed cash until the lease runs out. There are three fundamentally distinct models hiding under the same striped awning. The first is the classic volume cruiser rental shop. This is the picture in your head. Rows of brightly painted single-speed beach bikes, a few tandems, a rack of kids' bikes. You charge by the hour, the half day, or the full day. A standard beach cruiser rents for $25 to $35 a day. On the surface, the margins look great because the bike is a one-time purchase and you rent it hundreds of times. But the net margin in this model, once you strip out everything that actually costs money, runs between 8 and 12%. The problem is utilization. In a seasonal market, the average beach cruiser will rent only 60 to 80 days per year, as you already know. The other 285 days, it is sitting in a rack costing you rent, insurance, and storage space. So, you are paying 12 months of fixed cost to collect revenue on roughly 2 months of activity. And because the price point is low, you need high volume to make the math work. That means you need a location with massive foot traffic, and those locations command premium rent that eats the volume you worked so hard to generate. The second business is the e-bike-focused rental shop. These operations look similar from the sidewalk but are playing an entirely different economic game. An e-bike rents for $60 to $90 a day, often with a 2-hour minimum that pushes the average ticket even higher. The customers are not bargain-hunting college kids. They are couples in their 40s, families with teenagers, groups who want to cover 20 miles of coastline and still have energy for dinner. Gross margins on e-bike rentals can exceed 50% per transaction. The catch is the capital cost. A rental-grade e-bike from a manufacturer that will still exist when you need parts costs between $1,800 and $2,500. You are not buying a bicycle. You are buying a lithium-ion battery with a finite lifespan attached to a frame. That battery will need to be replaced every 2 to 3 years at a cost of $400 to $600 per bike. When you own 20 or 30 e-bikes, that battery replacement cycle is not a maintenance expense. It is a scheduled capital event that will cost you $12,000 to $18,000 all at once. If you have not been setting aside a portion of every rental fee into a depreciation reserve, It will blow a hole in your cash flow the month it comes due. The third business, the one that quietly generates the highest profit per square foot, is the guided tour operator disguised as a rental shop. This is not handing a customer a map and a bike lock and wishing them luck. This is a 3-hour sunset tour along the coast, a taco crawl by e-bike, a historic district ride with a guide who knows the stories. These experiences sell for $60 to $120 per person. A group of 6 people on a single guide schedule generates $400 to $700 in revenue for one morning's work. The bikes used on that tour were sitting in the rack anyway. The incremental cost is the guide's wage, some bottled water, and maybe a snack. Margins on guided tours routinely exceed 60%. And there is a hidden second benefit. The tour customer finishes the ride, knows the bike, trusts the shop, and comes back the next day to rent on their own. The tour is not just a revenue line, it is your best marketing channel. Every one of these models boils down to the same core mechanic. You buy a depreciating asset, you rent it by the hour or the day, you maintain it obsessively, and you try to push its utilization rate as high as possible within a fixed seasonal window. While that is happening, you layer on high-margin services, tours, delivery, accessories, that use the same asset without adding new fixed cost. The bike is not what you sell. The bike is the hardware that enables the software. The experience, the convenience, the memory. It is the software that generates the profit. The single most important number in this business is fleet utilization rate. Not how many bikes you own, not your Google review score, not even your daily rental price. Utilization rate is the percentage of your total rentable fleet that is out with a paying customer during peak hours on a peak day. A well-run shop in a good location with a decent weather might hit 60 to 70% utilization on a Saturday in July. A poorly run shop in the same town might sit at 30%. And because your fixed costs, your lease, insurance, minimum staffing barely move, that gap is almost pure profit or pure loss. Let me show you how this lever actually works with concrete numbers. Imagine you own a fleet of 50 standard bikes and 20 e-bikes, 70 units total. Your blended average daily rental rate, mixing the cheaper cruisers and the premium e-bikes, is around $40. Now assume your peak season is roughly 120 days long, mid-May through mid-September, and you manage to hit a 60% average utilization rate. That means on any given day, 42 of your 70 bikes are rented. 42 rentals at $40 a day is $1,680 in daily revenue, over 120 peak season days. That is $201,600 just from rentals. Add shoulder season months where revenue drops to a quarter of that, maybe another $20,000, and you are at roughly $220,000 in annual rental revenue. Now layer on guided tours. Run just 2 tours per week during peak season, each with 6 guests at $80 a head. That is $960 in weekly tour revenue. Over 20 weeks, that is $19,200. Run 4 tours a week, which a busy shop with one guide can absolutely handle, and you add nearly $40,000. Suddenly, your total gross revenue is pushing $260,000. Now watch what happens when utilization drops. Keep all your fixed costs constant, your lease, your insurance, your shop manager, and imagine your utilization falls from 60% to 45% because of a rainy June or your location is 1 block too far from the beach entrance. Your peak season daily revenue falls from $1,680 to $1,260. Over the same 120 days, that is a loss of $50,400 in revenue. That $50,000 does not get made up elsewhere. It comes directly out of your pre-tax profit. The bike rental business is a fixed cost business with a very sharp knife edge. Small changes in daily traffic and weather carve enormous chunks out of your take-home pay. So, what does it actually take to get into this business in 2026 and 2027? The first thing you need is not a business plan. It is a lease on a location that makes the economics work. You need to be within a 5-minute walk of the beach, the boardwalk, a major trailhead, or a dense hotel cluster. In a competitive seasonal market, that kind of retail space with some outdoor display area is not cheap. Expect to pay $3,000 to $6,000 a month for an 800 to 1,200 square foot storefront. And that landlord is going to want first and last month's rent, a security deposit, and very likely a personal guarantee. Oh, yeah, they have seen too many seasonal businesses fail before the first frost. The second thing you need is permission, and this is the part that surprises first time operators every single time. You cannot just open a bike rental shop wherever you want. Many beach towns and resort communities have capped the number of rental business licenses. You may walk into City Hall and discover there is a moratorium on new bike rental permits. The only way in might be to buy an existing permit from a retiring operator. That permit alone can cost $20,000 to $50,000. If your tours enter state parks, national seashores, or protected trails, you will need a concession permit from the relevant authority. That process can take 6 to 18 months. You're not just in the bike business. You are in the real estate, zoning, and public permitting business. The third thing you need is insurance. Liability is the silent partner that takes a cut before you ever open your doors. A commercial general liability policy for a bike rental operation with a fleet of 50 to 70 units will run you between $4,000 and $7,000 a year. That number is climbing in 2027 as insurers reprice outdoor recreation risk. You will also need to budget for theft and damage. The bikes will get damaged. They will be ridden into the ocean. A customer will leave a $2,000 e-bike unlocked on a crowded pier and shrug when it disappears. Realistically, budget for 3 to 5% fleet shrinkage per year. That is not a risk. It is a line item. Now let's build a realistic startup budget for a mid-sized shop in a seasonal beach town in 2026 and 2027. Assume you find an 800 square foot retail space with like a small back area for repairs. Your leasehold improvements, counters, racks, signage, a repair stand, basic shelving, will cost you $15,000. The fleet is your largest capital outlay. 50 traditional beach cruisers at roughly $300 each wholesale is $15,000. 20 rental-grade e-bikes at $2,000 each is $40,000. You will also need spare batteries for the e-bikes at $500 each, maybe 10 spares, so another $5,000. Helmets, locks, baskets, and child seats add $3,000. A point-of-sale system, a booking website with online reservations, and a digital waivers platform will cost $4,000 to set up professionally. Initial inventory of spare tubes, tires, chains, and tools is $2,000. Pre-opening marketing, photography, social media setup, a launch campaign is $3,000. Permits, licenses, and legal fees to set up your entity and draft your waivers will run $5,000. Your lease deposit plus 3 months of advance rent to protect cash flow during the slow ramp-up is another $15,000. Add it all up and you're looking at $107,000 before a single customer walks through the door. And you will need an additional $20,000 to $30,000 in working capital to survive the first quiet months, cover payroll, and handle the inevitable surprises. Realistically, plan on entering this business with $130,000 minimum. Now let's talk about what comes back to you. If you execute well, strong location, disciplined maintenance, a sharp tour calendar, decent weather, your shop might generate $280,000 to $350,000 in gross annual revenue. Out of that, the direct costs start peeling layers away. Your lease is $36,000 a year. Your insurance is $5,000. Utilities, internet, booking software subscriptions, and credit card processing fees consume another $8,000 to $10,000. Maintenance supplies and replacement parts run $12,000 to $15,000. The biggest line item beyond the bikes themselves is labor. Even a hands-on owner needs seasonal staff. In peak summer, you will likely need 2 to 3 part-time employees to handle check-ins, bike fittings, and basic cleaning. At $18 an hour in a 2026 tourist labor market for a combined 60 hours per week across your staff over a 20-week peak, that is $21,600 just for the summer. Add a year-round shop manager or your own draw, and total labor might hit $60,000 to $80,000. Then you have fleet depreciation. Those e-bike batteries will need replacement. A portion of your standard fleet will be retired each year. Spread out that cost and you are setting aside another $15,000 to $20,000 annually. When the dust settles, a well-run independent shop owner might take home a net profit of $70,000 to $110,000 before taxes. That is while building some equity in a fleet and a leasehold that has some resale value. It is a living. It is not a fortune. A large institutional operator, A resort concessionaire running a massive fleet with captive hotel guest traffic can generate millions in revenue. But they pay steep revenue shares to the resort, often 30 to 40% off the top, and they have layers of corporate overhead that the independent does not. Do not compare yourself to them. Compare yourself to the owner who shows up every day, turns the wrenches, leads the tours, and knows every bike in the fleet by its squeak. The risks that can wreck your profitability are real and relentless. Weather is the obvious one. A single rainy week in July can cost you $5,000 to $7,000 in lost revenue that is never coming back. Competition is evolving fast. The dockless e-bike and scooter companies that flooded cities are now eyeing tourist beach towns. They will dump hundreds of app-unlocked e-bikes on sidewalks at rental prices that undercut your daily rate. They have venture capital. You have a lease and a loan. You cannot win a price war against a subsidized scooter. Your defense is the experience, the personal service, the fitted bike, the tour that no app can replicate. Another risk is the battery. E-bike batteries are lithium-ion. They degrade. They are expensive, and if stored or charged incorrectly, they are a fire hazard that your insurer will ask very specific questions about. And finally, there is the quiet risk of the off-season. Your cash flow does not smooth itself out. You must have the discipline to bank your summer profits and meter them out over the dead winter months. Many bike rental businesses fail not in August, but in February, when the bank account is empty and the lease payment is still due. So, should you actually do this? This is a business for a specific kind of person. If you love bikes, genuinely enjoy talking to tourists, are comfortable with physical work and mechanical repair, and can sell a tour with genuine enthusiasm, this can be a wonderful lifestyle business. It will not make you rich. It will make you a living in a beautiful place and give you an asset you can eventually sell to someone who wants exactly that life. But if you are looking for a passive investment, a hands-off cash flow machine, or a business that scales easily without cloning yourself, stay far away. The Bike Rental Shop is a hands-on, weather-dependent, seasonally brutal, high-touch hospitality business that happens to use bicycles as its inventory. You are not selling transportation. You are selling the best afternoon of someone's vacation. Sell that, and the bikes will take care of themselves. Forget that, and you are just a warehouse of depreciating metal waiting for the rain to stop.